Hello all and welcome to Movie Bears Podcast TV. I'm Brad Harris, and man, whenever we can get together, it is a real treat. Scheduling has been a little difficult in the TV off-season, but I am delighted to get together with two of my favorite people on the whole planet to talk about some pretty awesome, I don't even know. Like, one is awesome, one maybe awesome? Question mark? I don't know.
We'll get to that.
Wait, which one?
I don't know.
I know, right?
I don't know.
You might be thinking about one. I'm thinking about another. That's
let me just say it this way. Our episode title for this week is "Looking for Stranger Things." So if there's something in that gets you excited, glad to hear it. But you've already heard from them. Casey Scott, welcome back to the show. Glad to have you here.
Hello, good to be here, and I'm always looking for some strange, so that's a good title.
That sounds like a Craigslist ad in the making.
It does. Looking for stranger things. All types apply. Right.
Do you have weird powers?
Right. Are you a
hot
bear chef that will save me from government agents?
Have all your teeth not grown in yet? Oh, God. All right. Stop. Enough. I'm not going any further with that. Stephen Heslin is here with us as well. Stephen, welcome.
Barb for president. Yay. No.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Yes, indeed. And oh my gosh, you guys, we've already got like 10 people watching, which probably shouldn't be surprising given what a phenomenon Stranger Things has been.
I know, yeah.
I get the sense that a lot of people are anxious to talk about this series. They have been already.
I'm anxious to talk about it.
Right? Mm-hmm. I know, it's so funny because like I've been holding it in, guys. Like we were going to record last week. And then my work schedule went crazy, and I had to drop the bomb that I couldn't record. And you guys like wanted to kill me because you'd already been.
That is not true. No, I just went to bed earlier. It was fine.
Well,
I was like, oh, okay, I can wait a week. I just have to hold. It was like edging. I was like, I'm gonna hold it in, and then it's gonna explode and feel the best. So,
wow.
Yeah. So now we're ready to explode all over the place.
All right. It's time to end our edging with a little discussion of Stranger Things. Well, Casey Scott, since you're ready to explode all over, why don't you?
I'm so ready.
Why don't you, in a non-spoiler fashion? I figure we'll just kind of give some general thoughts, what we like about the series, and then we'll give fair spoiler warning before we take it too deep. Mm-hmm. But Casey Scott, what do you think about Stranger Things? I mean, is this something that was right up your alley?
Well, yeah, I'm a big horror person. I'm a big fan of all things 80s, all things kind of nostalgia-tainment, as I like to call it. You know, shows and movies that kind of reflect back on an era that I wasn't 100% a part of. I was born in that era, but you know. No, I was excited about it. First of all, I was excited when Winona Ryder was coming back in something. I've always loved Winona Ryder, even when she was like, you know, a tabloid darling because of her shoplifting incident.
Oops.
Yeah, oopsie. Yeah, poor Winona. I feel bad for her. But I was excited about that. Yeah, and I didn't start watching it until, you know, social media started going apeshit, and because I completely forgot it was even happening until all of a sudden people were like, okay, this came on Netflix, start watching it. I said, oh, that's right, I had read about that in Entertainment Weekly, time to start watching it. And I'm not going to say, people have been going really crazy and saying that they loved it, they thought it was like the best show ever. I cannot go that far. I will say that I thought it was really good. It got a lot of the period detail perfect. I liked a lot of the child performances. I thought it took some really interesting turns, but it was very inconsistent for me. But the positives kind of outweigh the negative for me. I thought it was a really good viewing experience. One of my friends mentioned, one of my friends thought that it was like the perfect summer entertainment because it was, you know, summer is kind of like the vast wasteland of television because everything goes on hiatus, and even like summer shows are gone. Like Game of Thrones ended, Mr. Robot I haven't caught up on, but yeah, it's not great. So this was like a really nice surge of energy for summer television viewing. without going into too many spoilery details, I will just say that I really liked it. We'll go into details more about stuff I didn't like, and I like to see if you guys how you guys felt about certain things. But yeah, I thought it was definitely worth a watch. It's only 8 episodes. It's really easy to digest, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a good fun show.
All right, so we got a big recommend from Casey. Steven, how about you? Did this show land or not so much?
I think my comments sort of mirror Casey's a lot. For me, I had no idea about this show. I am in some weird upside down world where, I don't see advertising or something like that because you guys said, hey, should we review Stranger Things? And I looked it up. I'm like, oh, it's a Netflix show. Yeah, sure, we can review it. I had no idea what it was, what it was about, what the genre was, anything. So I literally logged on to Netflix, and the poster frame, I was like, oh, that looks interesting, and hit play, and it blew me away because I was totally unexpected, and I didn't know what it was going to be about. It hooked me from episode 1. I definitely really loved it, but I will agree with Casey. There's definitely some inconsistencies there. There are some things I didn't like about it, and there's some things about it that you can either take as a pro or a con. I'm leaning towards the more pro side, like the fact that it is a nostalgia smorgasbord. It's every 80s reference you can think of, any movie reference, film, TV, book reference you can think of tossed in there and intentionally referenced. I mean, there's E.T. references, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Stephen King novels. Even the titling is like a Stephen King novel. There's so many different visual references. There's scenes, even the Explorers, all these different things,
right.
and even tonally. Like I was thinking, I started watching it and I got hooked and just sort of binged it. But my husband was saying like, hey, should I watch this? What is it? And I was about to say, well, it's not really a horror. Like there's horror elements, but there's also comedy elements. There's like kid movie elements. There's romantic elements. So I don't even know exactly what it is, which again could be a pro or a con. I sort of lean towards the pro side because it's breaking mold. It doesn't have to be one thing. It doesn't have to be this. And I like that about it. I like that it was sort of different. But I actually have to disagree with Casey in the sense that I did not like Winona Ryder.
On the show? Yeah, she was inconsistent on the show. Yes. But I love Winona Ryder in general, is what I mean.
There are times in the very beginning when she first came on, I'm like, wow, this actress is kind of powerful. Who is that? I'm like, oh my god, that's Winona Ryder. And then as soon as it clicked in there with Winona Ryder, it went into that whiny Winona Ryder voice that I hate, like and it reminded me of like this scene in Star Trek, the reboot of Star Trek, when it was just like, why is she playing his mother? That's so ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that was great. I'm biased. I love Winona Ryder and everything.
I mean, it's one of those things where I think it's great casting in the sense that she's sort of a 90s darling, but
Heathers.
Yeah.
And Beetlejuice.
That's true. So
that's it though. Yeah. For the 80s, yeah.
But yeah, I think it great performances, fantastic cinematography, fantastic directing, fantastic sound design. I mean, some of the sound transitions were so brilliant. I mean, it's just really well done. It was one of those things where I'm like, who the hell are these, brothers that directed this? Like, where did they come from?
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely a thumbs up, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's the most amazing thing in the entire world, but I absolutely love it.
All right. So we've got 2 recommends. One from Casey, one from Steven. Want to read a live comment from listener M.A. Ross, who says, Stranger Things would have been better as a movie. And probably should have been cut that way. He says he loves the 80s throwback feel to the whole show. So M.A. Ross seems to be kind of in alignment with you guys, I think.
Yeah.
And, I think I'm going to be a big dissenting opinion here, guys. I hated this show so much.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't. I'm just kidding.
I was gonna be like, hold the phone. Wait a minute, Brad.
You would be the first person I would hear to say
Brad,
that.
you got some explaining to do. What are you talking about? I was like, what?
You're like, I don't even know you.
Yeah, I was like, Brad, I thought I knew you. I don't know you at all.
My finger's over the hang up button.
You're like, where is the unfriendship button? Oh,
I don't love the
goodness.
show that much that I would have done that, but I definitely would have had some like, I need to hear this. I gotta hear this.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I think I'm right there with you guys. So I really like this show. Kind of an unexpected, temporary show hole plug, so to speak. Like I had just ended like 2 things. I was jonesing for something else, and like Facebook was just like on fire about this show.
Yeah.
And you know me, guys. Typically, when something is like crazy hype like that, I'm a little anti-hype, and I'm like, well,
I hear you.
everybody loves it. Like, Jesus, I'm so tired of hearing about this show, you know. But something about it, and I'll tell you honestly, I think it was the poster.
Yes.
And I need to go back and check. I don't know. Drew Struzan did a lot of the posters for a lot of the famous 80s movies. Really, those iconic movie posters. And I don't know if he did the poster for this, but it looks very similar to his artwork style. But I saw the poster and I was like, well, okay, it's tripping my 80s movie triggers. I'll check it out.
Right?
And I tell you what, you know, initially, I don't think Jim was quite on board with watching it, so I was like, all right, well, I'll check it out on my own. I watched 1 episode, which turned into 2 episodes, which turned into 6 episodes, and I was like, okay, all right, it's been like 3 hours, and I'm almost on the show. Like, I need to back the fuck up. So I told Jim, I was like, hey, you know, I actually think you're going to dig this. Like, let's check it out together. And, you know, usually when that happens, I get my iPad ready because it's like if I have to rewatch something I've already recently watched, it's like, well, I'm just going to read comic books or something. But like even watching the first 6 episodes like a second time through, I mean, I was really held quite a bit.
Yeah.
Really kept my attention. And I got to say a lot of that is because of the cast, you guys. Like I typically am not a fan of like these fucking precocious kid actors.
Yeah.
Bugs the piss out of me, but I mean these kids had great chemistry. I think that they did a great job. They seemed believable as 80s kids. They reminded me of some of my friends when I was younger, friends that like, you know, I totally want to hang out with on a Saturday night and play D&D with, and we're all approaching 40 now, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that chemistry worked well. Winona Ryder, I like Winona quite a bit, but Steven, I think I'm a little more in line with you here. It felt a little screechy and overwrought at times. Like, yes, I know her son is missing, and that's a thing, but it was just a little, it was just a little too distraught Winona Ryder for me. So she could have reined that in a little bit. But I think that overall, I mean, I liked her character. Believable that a mother would be upset over her kid.
Oh, yeah.
But you can only see a woman, like, shaking her hand with a cigarette in it and, like,
exactly.
so much.
You
You know
I
what
don't like the way she smokes. There's something about the way she smokes that just bugs me.
You're like, Winona Ryder, if you smoked better, we might like you better.
Yeah, right,
Well,
exactly.
Like that male actor, the sheriff guy.
David Harbour.
Yeah, like, you could tell he's a real smoker. You know, like, it's a part of him. Whereas her, you're right, she, like, holds it and, like, see, I'm smoking. See, I'm smoking.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Oh, poor Winona.
So
Leave Winona alone.
So I say those things. I did like her in this role, though. It's not like I didn't like her.
I agree. It's not like she was like distracted me too much, but there were just times.
Yeah.
Right. Well, a little Winona goes a long way. Like I think that I think the peak of her performance was her with the Christmas lights, and that was episode 3. And then from there on, it was kind of like, okay, this is more of the same.
I agree.
It was like,
Christmas
but
light scene and everything.
Oh
was
my
fantastic.
god, that was
so
probably the
good.
best thing of the whole show, actually.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And maybe we can talk a little bit more about that when we get to spoilers.
Spoiler zone. Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that was sort of the pinnacle of Winona's ride through this show.
Mm-hmm.
See what I did there?
I feel like we
Yeah.
should have a drinking game for every time Brad does a pun.
Oh my
You
God.
guys would be drunk off your asses.
We should. Wait, don't we have a soundboard to do like
Oh, yeah, the
symbols?
hat
But I'm
tricks, yeah.
ching. Yeah.
We do.
We
That's
should.
true. We
Like
should
some old
totally-
Catskills comedian with the puns.
should totally make that happen. But yeah. So just some other things. I did really like the music in this film. Definitely took me on kind of a nostalgia trip as well. I think that they captured sort of just from a technical perspective. Like I watched the show in 4K, but like it looks sort of like a grainy 80s movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got some things wrong with certain songs they played that didn't come out till '86 and it was 1983. But I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Some of the songs were also covers of the original songs too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that.
Cheaper, probably.
Yeah, which I get, but when there are iconic songs like that, it's enough that like you notice it and you're like, wait a second, I'm pretty sure that's not the original artist. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I like how this series really sort of crafts the mystery, sort of builds on questions. Do we get answers? Do we not? We'll talk about that in the spoilers. But I think this series could have been probably 3 episodes shorter, to be honest.
It could have been 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it
just fine.
It
kinda-
did sort of extend certain things. That it's
Right.
Like,
yeah. It
Well,
kinda
yeah, I
backed
think
up a
M.A.
little bit.
Ross is right. It could have been a movie. I mean,
yeah.
do we really need to? Well, this isn't too spoiler, but do we really need two scenes of the boys exploding at 11? Like, what's wrong with you? I was like, we've been here before. This could have been condensed. Like, it was just like, yeah, this probably should have been 5 episodes, not 8 episodes.
But I do want to give mad props to David Harbour because I was a big fan of him in Newsroom. That was the first time I'd ever really noticed him.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Played Elliot, and and of course I saw him in Suicide Squad over the weekend, and I'm like, oh my God, it's the hot sheriff from Stranger Things, and so I think he did a great job. Nice seeing some man flesh on him. I won't lie. In that first episode, but
I forgot about that.
overall, definitely a recommend for me. So 3 recommends, guys. How about we open it up for spoilers for like 10 minutes?
Please, yes, please.
Okay.
We have too much to talk about.
So listeners, if you haven't seen Stranger Things yet, and you don't want your like virtual innocence ripped away from you,
Oh my
like
goodness.
Ramsey and Sansa,
Oh
step away, come back in 10 minutes for looking. But let's talk a little bit about that Christmas lights scene. So you guys, you said you thought it was fantastic. Is that right?
That was the best scene of the whole series, honestly.
I mean, I didn't totally follow her
See a
connection
dog.
with how the lights sort of worked, but I loved the device of communicating through the Christmas lights, and I wish they used that more. Like, it was just that one scene. It was brilliant, and I wish, then like later on, the other kids are going through there and they notice the lights and everything, and it was just weird, I felt it was like this moment of brilliance that then sort of dissipated. But
I see. Wait, there's a heart on your head.
There are
Oh, is
hearts above his head.
I see hearts.
You have hearts.
Yeah.
Weird.
You
You're
have
in love.
I'm
you have a
in
heart
love.
on your head.
That's so weird.
That's so cute.
Now I have a beard.
Now you have a beard. Hey, so speaking of the Christmas lights scene, we have a live comment from our friend Kevin Jackson here in Tucson who says, as someone who's worked with parents who've experienced loss and trauma involving their children, I felt that Winona did a very authentic job portraying that state of mind.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm sure she did. I mean, and the thing is, I wasn't so. I actually didn't mind that she was going so crazy about her son missing. I mean, I could understand that it's traumatic, and I loved her mama bear sort of protectiveness of the kid. I thought that was so well done, but there were just. I think it was just the amount of scenes that she was doing. It wasn't so much her acting. It was just like, okay, we get it. Let's do something.
It ties into the fact that it really should not have been 8 episodes. I think less of that and more of more forward momentum with moving forward and like, okay, this has got to move forward at a larger. Even at 8 episodes is not a lot for a series. I mean, that's basically a mini series. But the fact that it's too many for a mini series is kind of, a problem.
And we haven't even talked about the fact that they extended everything except for the life of the hot bear in the first episode, which they had to kill.
I know, right?
I mean,
I was
come
like,
on.
wait a minute.
The
Can't he
hottest
be like
character.
Can't he be like their savior? Like most of these kids, well, not most of them, but some of these, these kiddie adventure movies of the 80s, they had like an older guy, like Escape to Witch Mountain. Like, they had Eddie Albert helping them out. I'm like, can't this guy be like the hot guy who helps them
If they
out?
escaped to Bear Mountain? I mean, come on.
Who's not at all creepy with a van, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, there was that other hot guy that was driving around the Big Bad's van.
Right.
Yeah,
there was a lot of eye candy on this show, honestly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Too short-lived, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
Well, he became a social media darling too. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, this guy." I was like, "Yeah, it's sad. We need to see. He needed to do his own show, basically."
Exactly.
his own show where he walks around shirtless all the time.
Yeah, and a calendar, preferably. Can we get him in a calendar?
And a centerfold spread, but anyway.
And a centerfold spread.
Well,
Bear
and,
Magazine, go get him for a centerfold.
Speaking of memes of people who were taken off the show, Barb became the media darling.
Yeah, right.
She
So
did.
much stuff with
Her first acting role ever.
Is it really?
And now yes. And if you go on her Twitter, it's like her name is Shannon something, but she's like totally blown away. Like, and her reaction is so cute because she basically, people tweet at her and she responds to like every single one. Yeah. She's kind of like the guy who plays Titus's boyfriend on Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. It's like the big breakout role, and they're so thankful and overwhelmed with emotion. It makes it even cooler.
We should try to get her on the show, guys.
She would totally do it. I know she would. Like, she's only been interviewed by two other outlets. Like,
really?
People are not scrambling to get Barb. I don't get it.
What? Like, all right. All right. We gotta reach out. We'll see.
Yeah, you gotta let's tweet her because she responds to every tweet. So,
I saw this really awesome tweet like meme image, and I don't often like share tweets. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's been a long week and
it's Sweet Tuesday, girl.
I don't often reshare meme pictures, but this one was really funny. It's an election poster, and it's got a picture of Barb and Lyanna Mormont, the little girl from Game of Thrones.
Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. There's also a really good one of 11 and Lyanna Mormont, and I'm trying to.
I have seen that too.
Who would be more presidential, guys, Barb or 11?
I think Barb's
very Elizabeth, and she's very Elizabeth Warren, I think.
Oh yeah.
But we're all agreed on Lyanna Mormont for vice president, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's not leading anybody. She only has 30 soldiers. Yeah, she's no leader.
But her fighting men are worth 10 other men.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. Okay, try selling that to the American people. Sure.
All right. So a few more things here. I feel like we kind of have to talk about the ending a little bit.
Yes.
Before we wrap our discussion of Stranger Things.
Oh, there was an ending?
There was. Believe it or not.
One of my major caveats for the show was like they didn't know how to finish this. I don't know.
Well, he was bringing waffles
Echoes.
out,
right.
To the forest, so it sort of implies now. And also, what was that? Why did he get in the van? Like, what was that meeting about?
Mm-hmm.
Or the car? At the end, they're like, "Get in." He's like, "Okay," and then it cuts to later on. He's a sheriff again, and it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. My only thought is, obviously, I mean, the scientists and stuff are still there. I mean, just because the monster is ostensibly blown up doesn't mean they're leaving, right? So, given what he knows, I mean, what are their choices? Like, kill this guy and have the whole town on top of them, or maybe try and work with him, blackmail him, or something. I mean, I'm sure we'll find out. I guess the next season it's gonna jump a year or something. We're gonna pick.
I think it's supposed to be I thought it was supposed to be like a sequel or an origin story or something.
Well,
I'm not gonna lie. I really am not interested in the sequel. I think this kind of works as a self-contained thing. I don't. The mythology of the show is not intriguing enough for me to care.
But Casey,
I don't care about the big bads. I don't care.
Will was burping up upside down world slugs in his sink.
I don't care. That's fine. Good for Will. Like,
Yeah.
get that shit out, Will. Do whatever. Will, no, I'm sorry. If it was Barb, I would care. But Will, I could give a shit. We spent like 10 minutes with Will the entire show, so I could care less. That was one of the problems I had with the show. It was like all this. We have to find Will. We have to find Will. I was like, we spent 10 minutes with this kid. I don't really need to find him. Like, there's no urgency for me to get Will back in this show. Yeah. I was like, there's enough interesting stuff going on. Yeah, I don't care about a sequel. I think it works as a nice self-contained summer event series, and without Barb, I don't really want to continue.
Well, so. I wouldn't want necessarily a sequel. I think for me, I'd want like a different story in the same world. You know, like maybe something, you know, so you understand the world, but now there's new characters or something like that.
Like an American Horror Story kind of thing?
But not
bad.
You know, like...
But not bad.
yeah, good. You know, but I read something interesting. I don't know. I just saw the headline. I don't know. I didn't read the article, but they said that the filmmakers want to bridge the story between the first and second season with an 8-bit video game.
I saw that.
I think that's intriguing.
I would play the shit out of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, it's. And I've seen like mock-ups of stuff like that. People have already made mock-ups of that kind of stuff. But
so, Steven, would you watch a second season?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd be curious as to where they take it. You know, and I think, you know, the first couple episodes would probably tell us if it was a fluke or not. You know, it's sort of like True Detective. You know, like the second season, we were like, all right, and the first 2 episodes were like, what the fuck? Like, what happened? You know,
totally crapped the bed.
Yeah, and that we realized was a fluke, you know, and so I think it'd be the same thing with this. Within the first 2 episodes, we'll know, are they good storytellers, or was it just like they happened to cross some good source material and
right,
you know, one time.
And I think it's also like it's also a collective thing. So the casting was really. I thought the casting was really strong on this show.
Yeah.
I did have a problem with the fact that the one non-white actor was like the most obnoxious kid.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, seriously, but I did love the kid with no teeth. He was great, and I thought the kids had really good chemistry. I loved the actress who played 11. Oh my god! And she's another one who's not. She's not a professional actress. She just like decided, oh yeah, I'll just decide to start acting, and she's so good.
It was great. You know, like, there were lots of really
even though
good
she made the wrong decision at the end of the show.
Yeah, I know.
You go back with the douchebag. Like we've all seen these 80s.
He redeemed himself though.
What, by painting over the slut stuff? Come on.
Well, and also helping them coming back. And,
oh my god.
But you know that actually felt more real to me. I can't tell you how many of my female friends in high school were with these douchebag guys, and then they would be douchey to them, and then they would break up. And then, sure enough, because they're fucking epic star-crossed lovers, whatever, like 2 weeks, all is forgiven. They're back together. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a second. 2 weeks ago, you were like crying that like you made you feel like you would never be worth love and whatever.
Right.
So I don't know.
I also like that they didn't make the douchebag just a complete douchebage the whole time. Like it's not a total archetype. He had dimensions to him. So I like that.
But he was still very James Spader in Pretty in Pink.
Yes.
And,
did you just use the word dimensions because we had 2 dimensions in this series?
Oh my god, you have it. Speaking of the dimensions, okay, so that was another one of the problems I had with the show, honestly, was like that whole thing with like the second dimension with the monster and stuff, it really I'm a fan of shows that don't lay everything out for you. Like Lost, we didn't get all the answers with Lost, and that was fine because it was part of an overarching experience and like something. I was left with so many questions by the end of this. I was like, they really didn't think this out that way, and like they were trying to make it seem like mysterious and like, oh well, we'll answer your questions if we come back for a second thing. And I was just like, but you lose that sense of drive at the end of the series because you're like, I don't know what the hell this world is. I don't know why Winona and the sheriff are there. Like, I don't know why Will. I don't even know how Will even got to the second dimension. I don't know how we can communicate. It's like,
how do they get back and forth? You know,
I was like,
why does it choose certain places for portals?
Right. I was like, it's fun. It's kind of fun when shows do something like that, and they can create their own logic and explain it to the audience in a way that they buy it. But they didn't try to do any kind of They didn't have any logic for it. They were just like, well, this is this, and it's like
Right.
the 80s. Remember the 80s? And I was like, yeah, they explained stuff in the 80s. Yeah, it made sense in the 80s, but
You maybe had
that.
you maybe had to do some coke to really like.
Right. Maybe that would have helped, actually. maybe that's part of the 80s experience that I was not on board with. I should have been doing some coke while I watched the show. But you know, it kind of, the last episode was, I think, the weakest of the episodes, actually, because it was just like you're expecting this big finality, and there really wasn't that. So the build-up was strong, but I think that by the end of it, I was just like, okay, it's over. It was a fun ride, but it wasn't satisfying enough for me. It was not a Snickers. I was not satisfied. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we all agree there was enough goodness here to make it an entertaining watch, if not the most satisfying. Definitely something that was fun to check out. I think for me, I'll check out a second season, but I kind of worry because if they are doing a time jump, and if we're only going to have like 8 episodes again, like you're probably going to have to spend 2 or 3 episodes catching up with everybody.
Yeah.
Then you have the main story arc, and then you've got to, So
right.
I hope it's good.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Let us all take a moment to mourn the passing of Barb, whom we love dearly. Barb, you will be missed.
She will be missed. That is so disrespectful. Why do you have a mariachi band playing for Barb?
Trombone.
There was such a good article that was posted. I forget which I think it might have been Slate, where it was like, why do gay men love Barb so much? And
I know.
It was like, and it was so beautifully put. It was just like, well, Barb was kind of like us in high school.
And
like
was sort
we
of
were watching our friends.
She
was lesbian-esque. She was very. It was like the hair and the glasses. Yeah. But she was great. I mean, she was the friend who was kind of pushed to the side, and we have to watch our straight friends go make out and leave us, hanging out and waiting or whatever.
You know what? It's like, all right, we'll suffer through this for now, because we know that in 10 years we're going to be making out with like 8 guys at once at a party.
Exactly, and that's what I want. That's what we all wanted for Barb. We all wanted like Barb to be able to live and experience that. Yeah. Instead, why did she get sent to the second dimension and get killed? Why didn't Will get fucking killed?
Yeah. Or Nancy. Or Nancy.
Yeah, exactly. Get out of here, Nancy.
Or
the boyfriend. Why didn't the boyfriend get zapped?
Yeah.
That would have been great. I would have loved the boyfriend getting zapped.
All right, guys. Well, believe it or not, we're almost out of showtime, and we still have a whole nother topic to discuss.
Yes, I think that'll be pretty quick.
Are we?
Really? Okay.
I said some bias going in.
Oh my God! All right. Well, this is gonna get heated. All right.
Hey, I have not tipped my hat yet, so this.
I'm really not tipping my hat, but there's just isn't much to it.
Oh, okay. Well, I might agree with you on that, actually.
Are you trying to say we're going to be looking for more discussion points, Stephen?
All
right. Well, guys, we are going to go ahead and switch gears and discuss the series-ending movie of Looking. All right. So, Stephen, I feel like off of that last comment you made, it's only fitting that you kind of kick us off here. So, let's just get it out of the way up front. Spoilers, they're going to happen.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be spoiled on the movie, come back for plugs in a little bit. But we
not much to spoil. I mean,
we had to wait a while for this movie, right?
Well, yeah, we did. I think it's been a year and a half or something like that. Yeah. But it's basically a long episode. It's they call it a movie because it was 90 minutes, but it's like there was no cinematic. It wasn't more or less cinematic than any one of the episodes. It wasn't shot differently. It wasn't, there was no higher production value than the other ones. It's the same characters we pick up, a little bit later. Although they're like, what's his name moved away to Denver. Patrick, and then he's coming back for the wedding, but it's like, it looks like, 2 days have passed. So it's like, it's a weird sort of like there's this time jump, but it didn't really feel like a time jump, so it was kind of weird. But I feel like the whole thing was made because nobody liked the ending of the second season. Like I felt like they wrapped it up pretty well in the end of the second season, but it was a different departure than whatever. It wasn't a pretty bow on it. It was a little messy, which life is messy. I think that's fine. And then they come in with this movie where it's like, okay, no, these two are getting married like everyone wanted. These two are, he's got his chicken shop and it's doing well. And what's his name gets back together with the haircutting guy. That's what everyone wanted. Here you go. Here you can have your pie and cake and eat it all, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's gooey and it's tasty. I liked it. It wasn't bad at all. It's what I wanted to see, but sometimes I don't want filmmakers to give me what I want. Because it's a little easy. You want it to be a little messy, but it's it definitely that pull-out shot at the end. It's like I know that store right off Castro. And it's like they pull out wine. The music is fantastic. Just like they have really good music on the show, and it was a great ending. It was a very satisfying ending, but it was just it was a little sugary sweet for me.
Oh,
little sugary sweet. Yeah, I gotta say, for me too. I actually was not looking forward to watching this movie, because man, when we left the end of season 2, it was just, gosh, I don't know. It felt like so much of everything that is like wrong with like how gays are kind of portrayed these days, and that's interesting because we've gone from like the Will and Grace portrayal. Now this sort of like looking portrayal, and everyone just feels so kind of like cookie cutter predictable. Like Patrick never changes, Dom never changes, Augustine never changes. So now that we've sort of had this 9-month time jump, which I didn't realize was going to be sort of the vehicle for this change, coming in, I'm like, well, okay, cool. Like, let's actually see if anything is different. And by the way, guys, this is super telling. All of our live listeners have vanished.
Nobody watched it. Shame on you.
Nobody watched it. Yeah. So, you know what? That probably tells us that HBO made the right choice in canceling this series, unfortunately.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, so I feel like Patrick, at least the first 2/3 of the movie, had made some changes in his life, and like he was more confident, maybe a little more mature, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I like where this character is going. And then, of course, Richie and Patrick have to get back together, and they wrap that up in a nice little bow very quickly. And Steven, you're right. The whole Augustine Eddie thing, I mean, I like looking at them on screen, but I just kind of felt like it wasn't earned in a way. Like, that relationship just started last season, and we didn't even get like a big hunky chunky part of it. Right. So I was just kind of like, okay, I guess I have to just accept it. The whole thing with Dom and like his new boy toy that he gets at the end, like boy toy was hot, but I'm kind of like, really? Why are we like throwing in a relationship for him at the end now?
Right.
Like it seemed more like, hey, let's give everybody a happy ending.
Exactly.
And put a fork in it. We're good. We're moving on. So, I mean, I liked it, I guess, but I'm kind of glad this series is done.
Yeah.
How about you, Casey? What's your thought?
Well, I loved it because it's I like the characters. I definitely think, like the show, it's way too skewed towards Patrick, and so Dom's whole thing was very undercooked, which is ironic considering he works as a restaurant. that was not intentional. Like the whole thing with the guy who might be moving to San Francisco, I was like, okay, whatever. Like that happens. Like people have set me up with people possibly moving to New York and DC and all that shit. The whole Augustine and Eddie wedding definitely did feel unearned, Brad. I agree. I was just like, really? I mean, I get that they were like a cute couple or whatever, but neither of them seemed like they were at all ready to like
Right.
get married. And then I was reminded, like, well, gay divorce also exists. So
Yeah.
I hope they know the laws in California because it's a 50-50 split when they get divorced. So, and that applies to gay couples too. Yeah, I really liked it. I think overall, taken together, the whole series plus the movie, I honestly think it's kind of like The Boys in the Band of our time, in that The Boys in the Band, when that came out in 1970, most gay men really hated that movie because it was like, for them, it's not always fun to look in the mirror and be reminded of your flaws and be reminded of like, oh, I'm like that. But I hate it. They shouldn't show people being like that, even though I am that. Yeah. So I think Looking is very much like that. I think that these characters are flawed, but they're all flaws that we've all, at one point or another,
witnessed or portrayed.
That we've all experienced. So I think it's going to take at least 20, 30 years before people can reflect back and be like, I think that show was really good. But I definitely think
you make a good point. I mean, think about all the times that I've gotten like a really trendy cup of coffee and like hiked to the top of this lookout and like sat perfectly poised and just thought about my problems. And you're right. Oh my gosh.
Which, by the way, the funny thing was, we were watching it with a friend of ours, Dan, that wanted to see it, and as soon as that hiking scene came up, we paused it because both Sean and Dan lived in San Francisco at one point, and they were like, that doesn't exist anywhere in San Francisco. They kept on like trying to pause at different frames and be like, "What is that in the back?" I'm like, that doesn't exist anywhere. Like they would have 20 minutes outside the city just to get to this hill wherever they are.
Oh my god, I love that.
I hear you that like I don't really identify with any of the characters, and I wouldn't make any of the decisions half of them made, but. At the same time, I thought they were characters I recognized. They were people that I could see. They were realistic. It wasn't like they were completely unrealistic, and I've never seen a character act like that before. I think that's what I enjoyed about the series, is seeing that. But you're right, Brad. I don't fit in with any of those people. I wouldn't be friends with any of them. I wouldn't do any of the things they do.
You wouldn't be friends with Dom? Are you kidding me?
I would, but I don't think he'd be friends with me. I don't think we have anything.
What? Dom is friends. If Dom can be friends with Patrick, he'd be friends with you for sure.
That's true.
You are together and centered and fun to be with. Patrick, not so much. So obviously, Dom would be friends with someone like you. Of course, he would.
You know what my favorite part of the Looking movie was? It was actually not any of the, oh my god. It was actually not any of our main characters. It was the judge played by Chime Daly.
That was fantastic.
She was so good, you guys.
Such a small part and played it so well. Like just sort of dismissive and like, hey, I got stuff to do. Like, what's going on? And like answering questions really quickly. I thought it was such an interesting little bit part.
Yeah, it was really
spin-off. We need a spin-off.
That would be kind of cool.
Spin-off with the grizzled judge in San Francisco, right? Oh, and I also thought the whole thing with Doris and her boyfriend, it was like that was all that they had for her to do. It's tough when you're trying to wrap everything up in an hour, but it's like Patrick got so much time, and it was like,
I love that Doris's only function was to basically be a woman and have a baby.
Yeah. I was just like, at the end, it was like, wait, what? Seriously? Come on now. Can't you just have a good time? Well, that was something that my friend Brandon mentioned. He was like, well, over the course of the show was really very surprisingly conservative in its values. It's very like pro-monogamy, anti-polygamy, or polyamory. And I had to think about it, and I was like, you're so right. It's like the whole thing about like with Dom's boyfriend Lynn, where it was like he was weird about Lynn having sex with other people. I was like, but you live in San Francisco, like really? Like, and then Patrick freaking out about Kevin having Scruff or Grindr on his phone. I was like, oh my god. So the more I thought about it, I was like, that's so true. And then by the end of the show, everyone is coupled.
Right.
Single together with wanting to be closed. Doris is having a baby. It's very like it's it's not very progressive. Honestly, it's not the most progressive ending for the show.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, maybe not the most satisfying ending, but it ended.
Yeah.
That's all I was
It ended, and that's that. Right, exactly. It ended, and that happened. Yeah, right. So that was a show.
That was the show, So,
I still love it. I'm still waiting for season 2 to come out on Blu-ray because I don't know. I've said this before. I'm very, as much as people didn't like Patrick, I'm very Patrick, unfortunately, and so I keep that Patrick side of myself.
all right.
Try to keep it hidden, but people have seen it.
Here's what we're gonna
pleasant.
do. Here's what we're gonna do, Steven. So we're not gonna say anything. We're putting Casey on the spot. Are you ready?
Oh my God.
Okay.
All right. So
I
Casey,
like being put on the spot. Okay.
Casey, if you identify yourself as Patrick, who do you identify Steven and I as?
Oh gosh. Oh my God. Okay. Steven is Dom and you are Augustine.
Interesting.
Yeah, I could see that.
Huh.
And I don't even know why. I can't even tell you why.
I have
I
been
think it's
having
'cause
an
I'm taller.
existential crisis, so you know.
Oh, you have? Oh, okay, well that works. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that works. Yeah.
Well,
And
you know,
I know Steven loves peri peri chicken, so that's why.
Oh yeah, that's it. Gonna make some right after the show. Yeah.
And I know, and Brad, you hate it. No, I don't. I don't know. That was just the first. That was I went with it, and it flowed out.
At least we're like the core three, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And in the end of it, I'm still the worst because Patrick is still the worst of those three.
But you're the one everyone loves the most.
And makes the
That's not
most
true.
changes.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the one who. Well, the whole scene with him and Kevin was.
Oh.
It felt like a conversation that I would have with one of the men, and then it made me think about my relationships. I was like, you put a lot of blame on other people because it's easy to do, but then you reflect back and it's like, what role did I play in this? And not a lot of gay themed movies or television do that, where they're like, you are not the victim, you are not the only one who got hurt here.
Yeah.
You are this is not all about you. You also had a role in this, and I did love that. I thought that
was the most interesting scene.
I agree.
Probably.
Yeah.
And also because it held Patrick accountable for his bullshit. that was the best thing because it was like,
refreshing to see. Yeah.
Yeah, the show was turning on him finally. I was like, yeah, exactly. It's not like, Kevin, I don't know. Do you think we would have worked? And it's like, well, we could have tried. That's the whole point, asshole. Like, we have to try and see if it could work instead of cutting and running out to a whole other state. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think that was probably the best part of it. Yeah.
It was. Well, also Russell Tovey's so good in it. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it all went downhill from there.
It kind of did.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're going to look to wrap up with some plugs here in a second, but I did have a quick thing I wanted to mention to you guys. It's not really a plug. I don't know where it fits. Did you guys hear the news that Project Greenlight is no more? It's canceled.
What?
Again?
But I want to see Effie. Oh, no.
Sorry, not happening.
They just
you know what? Because they had to deal with that fucking asshole. That's why he ruined it.
Yeah.
Yep.
They made a bad pick.
They did.
They did. They made a shitty pick.
I wonder what he's doing now if he leveraged it.
Maybe he's been eaten by crocodiles.
No. I think he's probably a ticket taker at the Egyptian or something. I don't know. He's just the worst. Oh, I can't stand him. But Effie, I love Effie. And I made a meme of her, and she retweeted it, and so it became a thing on Twitter. Yeah, I made a meme where it was just her looking like this, and it said "duly noted." Period. I made her a meme because sometimes you need to shut down an internet conversation with a strong woman of color just laying down the line like "duly noted," and she retweeted it, and it spread like wildfire.
Wow, that's awesome.
I was like, "Oh my God, Effie, I love you."
Why has she not been on the show, Casey Scott?
Yeah, that's a good question. We should have her on.
Totally should.
Yeah, I've been really dropping the ball with guests. We were supposed to have John Gemberling on too.
Right? That never happened. Gee.
But we don't. Well, we stopped talking about his show, and we don't talk about Broad City.
Well, that's true. But we could talk about it.
Yeah.
That's true. We did talk about Marry Me before it was canceled.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't believe I watched an episode of that.
I watched every episode and then it got canceled. You and your sitcoms, Brad.
I don't know, man. I've even stopped watching The Big Bang Theory, you guys. So
Thank God. Oh my goodness.
I don't know. Maybe I'll come back to it someday.
Watch Lady Dynamite on Netflix. I think you might like that.
I tried watching that. I didn't get into it.
No,
right
the
away.
first episode isn't great. It takes
Okay.
about 2 or 3 episodes, and then it gets really good. It has a really great overarching theme about depression and stuff like that. It's good.
Well, maybe when Big Brother is over, because I'm halfing is the wrong word. I'm watching Big Brother for our weekly family night with Jim's ex-wife and daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't just watch one episode a week. You've got to watch all of them to know what's going on.
And the feeds.
Well, I don't really watch those so much, but I'm
okay.
seriously, 3-hour-long shows a week is a little much.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You
But
guys should be
anyway.
watching Match Game instead, but it's not on right now because the Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
The new Match Game is good. That's not my plug. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
I saw one episode. It's pretty.
It's fun. It's good. I don't hate it.
And it just
fun.
makes me realize how good the Snatch Game is. So.
Oh,
The Snatch
goodness. All right. Well,
Oh,
on
my
that
word.
note, let's move on to some plugs as we look to wrap here. I'll go first. So I want to plug this latest episode of the Movie Bears podcast, actually. So by the time you're listening to this episode of MBP TV, that episode will also be out. We reviewed Suicide Squad, the new DC film with Will Smith and Margot Robbie and a bunch of other people that you probably don't even care about because they're the two pieces that hold up the whole film. But definitely a great episode. Bill Zanowitz of the Comic Book Bears podcast joined us. We had a lot of fun talking about that movie. So, yeah, definitely check out that episode. And I think that's it for me.
Okay.
What have you got, Steven?
I think I'm going to plug, because we just finished it last night, Unreal. And just wrapped up the season. Very good. I mean, they upped the ante a lot. And it's one of those things where I'm almost scared for it going forward, because if they're going to try and make it worse and worse and worse, it's just going to get to the point where it's like you can't go any farther.
Yeah. That's always the danger with that show.
Yeah, but it's had some pretty epic episodes, so that is one that I highly recommend.
Did you hear Constance Zimmer was nominated for an Emmy, but Sherry Appleby was not?
That's interesting.
Yeah, I love both of them, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping Constance Zimmer wins. That'd be great.
Yeah. She deserves it for many reasons. Everything she's in, she's fantastic.
She's good in everything, exactly. She's good in House of Cards when she was
Oh,
on.
yeah, for sure. Absolutely. All right. Well, Casey, close us out for plugs. What have you got?
Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, so I've been crowing all over Netflix, all over Facebook about this. Y'all need to watch Crazy Ex-Girlfriend before it comes back for the fall. Because Crazy Ex-Girlfriend was the best new show of the last TV season. It is so good. It is so funny. It's funny. The music is great. The cast is great. It tackles a lot of really interesting topics that I think would resonate with a lot of people, like depression and self-worth and figuring out what to do with your life. It's just wonderful. It's such a great show. And I'm glad that some people have actually listened and have been messaging me and are like, oh my God, how did I not see the show when it was on? I was like, it's on CW. No one watches it. Like, please watch it. Like, and it was just nominated for a bunch of Emmys, but not lead actress like it should have been. She did win the Golden Globe for it. And it's so good. It's on Netflix, and it's 18 episodes. They will fly right by. You will want to buy all the songs on iTunes. It is really, really, really good. So if you're in a show hole, that is what you should be filling your hole with. It's Crazy Ex-Girlfriend should be shoved in that hole.
All right.
Well, there we go. With Scott filling her hole with a show.
With Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. With 18 long episodes.
Oh, goodness. Well, guys,
Yeah,
this has been so nice. I know scheduling has been crazy, but it's been great being able to sit down
Yeah.
I know, but fun as always. We'll have to figure out what we're gonna do next time. Hopefully, it won't be as
Yeah.
long until our next show. But
Yeah.
let's
I'm trying
take
to
a
think of
look.
what's coming up.
Yeah, because we're
Fall
kind
will
of
be coming upon us soon.
Yeah.
Fall season.
soon, right? Mid-September to mid-October is kind of that premiere season. So
Yeah.
maybe what we need to do is like have one of those shows where we talk about like the shows we're most looking forward to in the new season.
Yeah, that could work.
Kind of a ramp up or something. That could be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that could work because I know that in terms of like editing, they released trailers of all the shows that are coming on. So
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of editing, oh my gosh, you guys! I don't know if you heard, but Supergirl is coming to the CW. It's leaving.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Superman is now coming to Supergirl because they're trying to beef up ratings or whatever. And
Okay.
they released this teaser poster of the new actor in the Superman costume.
Oh yeah. I saw
And the
that.
original poster says Superman is coming to, or was it?
It's coming on Supergirl.
Superman is coming to Supergirl.
Uh-huh.
And someone edited the poster and it's gone viral to read Superman is coming in Supergirl.
Oh Jesus.
That's
So everyone
unfortunate.
thinks that's the real poster and that this, CW just doesn't,
I'm not gonna
Hey,
lie. Coming on Supergirl works better.
I know. If you're gonna edit it, at least
It's a show.
make
It's a
it,
show, so it's gonna be like next time on Supergirl, like Superman is coming on Supergirl.
Oh, I know. Crazy.
Sorry about it. My mind is always dirty, so I always know the
Apparently,
best
you
dirty
make
posters.
more references to that.
Hey, you know what? Bear Week is over, but the thirst is real. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you go to Bear Week for a week, and then you come back to the real world, and it's like, oh my god, I forgot what paradise it is, and now I'm surrounded by all these guys. So the thirst is real, y'all. The thirst is real.
All right. Well, we'll see you all next time. Take care.
All right.
Goodbye.
Enjoy TV, y'all.